All right.
ShJuawnCast number 4. How did we get this far? We're the only one who listens to this. Nobody else listens to this.
Nice. For some reason, we had like over 30 views of the last cast that you uploaded.
Yeah.
And I was just like, wow, that was fast.
I hope so. Yeah. Nobody's saying shit though. We'll see if I still gotta get it ready to the proper channels. Uploading it to Apple and all that stuff. It's really easy to do. It's just that I have to get around to doing it.
Okay.
So that's all
I know nothing about that.
Dude, neither do I. I just have to Google it. That's all.
Yeah.
That's like the magic thing. All right. So it's been a while since our last one.
Yeah.
A good few months.
Did we officially introduce this
show?
Yeah, this is Dad Talk with Juan and Sean.
Yeah. I'm a dad now. Shit. Fuck. Oh my God. And that's what the last couple months just seem to fly by like that. And I don't know what Sean's been up to. Sean has a rough idea of what I've been up to. He's went through it twice. This is my first time. And it's been fun getting used to the little one in the house. And it's what Sean said. Sean said it in the last cast. He said, you feel like, oh shit, you're not alone anymore with your significant other. It's over. It's over. It's over. Now it's like living it's like having this other, it's more than a pet, obviously, but at the same time it's like this other human being around. I'm like, okay, how do you take care of that? How do you take care of the baby? And still trying to, try to be healthy and mentally sane and encouraged and engaged and all that. I don't know.
Yeah, it's
a challenge.
It's a weird thing to get used to.
Sure is.
I mean, I have memories of it, but at the same time, I don't remember everything exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Just there's a lot of vague thoughts and just
really.
It's mostly when with Aisling, because I was living in Plattsburgh, and Anne and I. Well, I mean, for this period of time, let's see, Anne would have still been on maternity leave.
Mm-hmm.
But working kind of like on call the way we did.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Damn. And with what you do as well, so.
Yeah. It's almost like we never slept, regardless of whether or not I was working or not.
Shit, man.
And I always used to dread getting phone calls in the middle of the night because I didn't want to have the baby get woken up.
God damn, you're right. Yeah. Yeah, true. And
I made the mistake of having my ringtone while I was up there being, I'm trying to think of what exactly the musical instrument would have been.
I have a smart-ass answer for this.
Yeah.
Can I say my smart-ass answer for this?
Sure.
Is it the Undertaker's walkout theme from WWE?
No. It's one of these stock ringtones that was on my phone.
Oh.
Like the blues riff.
Oh shit, that's awesome. In the middle of the night?
Yeah. But it wasn't a guitar. I'm trying to think I don't think it was a guitar.
Was it was it an iPhone? Was it like the piano?
Yes.
Yeah. Then there'd be piano, yeah.
And oh man, it got so obnoxious.
Yeah. Well, any ringtone after a while, when it's over and over. I prided myself for maybe a hot minute a couple years ago when I first got an iPhone, programming the theme to Millennium. I don't know if you remember. It goes da na 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 na, right? And I got it and I set it up as my ringtone, and there was a significant kind of musical accent that the show had whenever it would come back from commercial break, this bumper that would go bum bum. So whenever I would get a text message, it went bum bum. It got old really fast. I was like, I love this show. I can't do it to myself, so I turned it off. So after a week, it was over.
Yeah.
Oh man. But yeah. But then the baby woke up in the middle of the night, right? Hearing that same damn ringtone.
Well, we used to have the baby. I'm trying to remember if we had, because we had a co-sleeper. We've never been believers in having babies sleeping in bed with you. Just to give you an idea about this, in the funeral industry, you'll see way too many infant deaths because people roll over on babies.
No
Not
shit.
to get dark, but
No, but it's true. It's true. It's true. It's true. That's that's one reason we'd sneak her into bed with us every once in a while, but for the most part, she's taken to the crib really fast, and she sleeps all night, amazingly. Like, I wasn't prepared for that. I was more like, okay, I would have night shift, and I would be up, like, 3:30, 4:30 in the morning, just, waking her up, doing my thing, and then, feeding her, and then putting her back to sleep. But lately, I mean, she sleeps in her crib, and, yeah, except for the other night, I woke her up at 3 o'clock, because I knew she was, like, tossing and turning. But, she's been a very, very, very good sleeper, amazingly enough. And Sabrina's up there right now. We just gave her a bath, and she's like, getting her night ready. She's probably sleeping by now. Yay! Love your T-shirt, by the way. What is it? A Jaws comic book T-shirt?
yeah.
Oh shit!
Yeah, Anne got me this.
Oh, sweetheart! We got to do like a live video thing sometime, because you have all these cool things that you can show, and especially this shirt. This shirt's pretty awesome.
She also got me. She got me a John Carpenter shirt.
Ooh.
And it's one of the things with you take band names and
sure,
put it with. So
yeah.
The Carpenters, and they look like the beings from They Live.
Fuck yeah.
So just too perfect, too perfect. It's
a
little morbid because Karen Carpenter's dead.
Of course. Yeah.
But yeah, because I have a couple other ones. There's instead of Def Leppard, it's De Palma.
Yeah, I've seen that one.
Yeah, and Iron Maiden is Igmar Bergman.
I know. The IFC Theater used to sell those way back in the day. I don't know. Are those still sold somewhere? Do they still sell them?
You can buy them online. Yeah.
Shit. I always wanted to get some, but I don't know.
I went to go see Barry Lyndon at the IFC.
I remember.
And I felt like an asshole because I'm wearing a De Palma shirt and they sell them there. And I'm like,
fuck you.
Don't look at my shirt.
I don't give a shit, though. They're like, hey, that guy bought it from us, probably.
Yeah. Like I'm the dork who, yeah.
But it's the same time that falls in the line between like douchey and cool.
Yeah. Because
it's like you see that and you're like, oh shit, that's actually pretty cool. But then you're wearing it like, I don't know. You know what I mean? It feels like, is this really a thing? Yeah. Did you I couldn't help myself. So like late night the other night, I messaged you because I was watching this John Milius documentary on YouTube, and I texted you the link. I don't know if you got it, but have you seen that documentary? The Milius documentary?
Yeah, it's
pretty damn good.
Yeah.
It was all right.
I actually did not know what had happened to him.
Me neither.
And it was very, from a personal standpoint, it was very sad because I have a tendency that when I get overwhelmed with things, I feel like I get into like a locked in state where I can't, like the words just don't come out right.
Right.
And the more I think about it, the more awkward it starts to get with me trying to, get that out. I mean, that's not like what happened to him. With him is like,
yeah,
I mean,
but still, yeah.
But yeah, no, it's. I had seen that shortly after I went to go to do my residency upstate. And my brain was like broken from having studied to do the board exam, which was I guess it was hard. I can't remember. They have two. There's two exams. You have to take the national board exam, and then you have to take a state licensing exam. The state licensing exam can be easier. There's a whole story behind why it was such a pain in the ass. But the board exam was a little tricky. And there are people that have failed that could, for stupid reasons. It's, you take it on a computer. It's, I don't remember if it's timed, but you're in a room where you can't get out of your seat without raising your hand.
Interesting.
And then what happens is a proctor comes over and logs you out of the computer. And you can go use the restroom or whatever. And because if you get up out of your seat without raising your hand for the proctor, you automatically fail. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh man, I went off on a tangent there. So
No. Don't worry about it. Just keep going, Sean.
So it felt like my brain had gotten broken from studying for this thing because I didn't want to having spent all this time going to school to do this whole thing and then get to the board exam and just get feel like I got screwed over.
Right.
So when I started my residency, there'd be times when my boss would ask me a question, and I'm standing there looking at him, and I'm like, I know the answer. It's
you're
right
just going
here.
yeah.
I feel so burned out that I couldn't answer him immediately.
Yeah.
And I mean, he was a dickhead. And I love it.
But that happens way too much in life, and I mean, not to belittle it, but it's this happens. It happens to me a whole bunch of fucking times where I'm like, you know what I mean, and you just get stuck in there. I'm sure it's happened when we were talking with for this show or whatever it is, recordings, where I'm like and nothing's coming out.
Yeah.
But you saw that you saw I'm sorry, but you saw Milius shortly after you had the exams for the first time.
Yeah. So that's what the whole that was thinking about with him and the whole thing with him.
Yeah.
Having unfortunately, having his mind and his. Everything was stuck up there.
It's incredible. Yeah. And I see, the thing is, I wasn't, into Milius, not that I am now as much, but that doc really gave me a good appreciation for him. I downloaded when I saw when Lucas talked about, The Life and Times of Judge Roy Bean is one of the greatest screenplays I've ever read. I'm like, fuck shit, I gotta find this. And I found it on I found a PDF on it. So then I started reading it a little bit, and I don't know if this is a subject in of itself. I guess it is, but you know what? One of the screenwriting issues that I have, not that we should talk about this now or we can talk about it whenever, is when it's on the use of language, because you start reading The Life and Times of Judge Roy Bean, and you're drawn in immediately. Maybe it's have you ever looked at that screenplay?
No, I haven't.
I'll send it to you.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I'll send it to you, because even from page 1 or 2, it's immediately you get pulled in to the lone gunslinger, well, not gunslinger, but lone romantic kind of epic kind of dark scale of it immediately, and I'm like, holy shit! When we went to school, we were taught to just sort of not to say we stay away from that kind of writing, but I think what was really kind of I don't want to say reinforced. I think it's probably too strong, but it was strongly recommended that you sort of stick to the point and you become very telegraphy rather than you sort of engineer this sweeping kind of scope, right? That you can pull the reader in. At least that's what I took away from it when I think about it back in the day. And that's one of the always I remember Everett Eason talking about tossing this rhetorical question out there when somebody would use a curse word in their action description, and then he would just pose out, do we really need to use that kind of language? He would just say it, And then, yeah.
You know what? You can finish your thought. I have a
Sure.
response to that. And,
Well, yeah, sure.
Okay. So, yeah.
I mean, this is an illustrated point where it's like, and that kind of got caught in me where I'm like, well, I want to be, a professional screenwriter and all this stuff, and I just want to be good at my craft and yada yada yada. So that was kind of like one of those, implicit kind of dogmas that was put in my head at the time, right? And you tried to sort of stay away from that. You try to sort of fix your, your cufflinks and go to work, as it were, and not to, descend to that. But then if you read screenplays, you realize that people do that kind of shit all the time. And then it's like, wait a minute, if these guys can do it, why can't I do it? And then if you read something like, Judge and Times of Life and Times of Judge Roy Bean, it kind of feels like, okay, really, do I really have to be kind of like straitjacketed, as it were, or can I expand? So anyway, go for it, Dr. Nolan.
So my response to that would be this. I don't know if you need to be putting like profanity in, say, like action description. I haven't read a lot of, I haven't seen a lot of it. I've seen a couple where it's used and it's used effectively.
Effectively, yeah.
And it's usually because you are making a point that
True.
needs to be like accentuated visually.
Mm-hmm.
When you use it as the writer to like, I'll use this as to like stab the reader and say, "Are you paying attention?"
Yeah,
that's out of line. And it's funny. The funny thing is, I did this, and Suzanne Wyatt said to me, "Why'd you write it like that?" And I'm like, in my head, it sounded funny, and I figured that if somebody read that, they'd get the point. But yeah, it doesn't need to be that way. I think it was the thing where I wrote something where this wasn't even for class. I sent her like pages I was doing, and it was like kicks him in the balls really fucking hard. Because in my head, it was really hard didn't sound right. It needed to be really fucking hard. And she says, "Is there any other way you could probably write this?" I was like, hits him in the balls really hard, so much so he vomits. And she goes, "There, that's a visual. That's how you write that." She says, because the idea is, even if in a movie, if the person doesn't vomit, you just put that still in their head that that's what's about to happen. Yeah. So, also, the way people write scripts have changed so much over different generations.
Yeah, of course.
I read, I remember what was, I have copies of things like Chinatown.
Yes.
Star Wars.
Yep.
I think I have the script for Deliverance, which is
holy shit.
Strangely, I remember being a little. Oh, this leads me into the whole thing. Flowery action description to the point where you're reading a novel. Now, there's a difference between, say, trying to describe something so that it's visual. I mean, we're talking about me. I'm the guy who writes no action description because I don't know. I'm either lazy or I'm just so interested in trying to move on.
No, you're good.
I'm trying to be better about that. It's an ongoing thing. Okay. I got a funny story about that.
Yes.
But maybe that was the reason why when I wrote The Kill of Sam Getty, I had to write a 12-page car chase that has no dialogue at all, and it's just,
Is it like the chase?
It's here, it's there. The car moves there. This is that. Blah blah blah.
It was more. Well, from what I remember, it was more adventurous than the car scene from Jade.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So, in short, I think if you're going to I guess, be a little more colorful with the way that you write action.
Mm-hmm.
It needs to be, I mean, it needs to be there. Or
Right.
else, I mean, you could put off a reader by just having, like, some blue words in there.
Well, you know what? I mean, I always struggle with the notion of who the audience is when you write a screenplay.
Yeah.
It's like, right? That's sort of the magic. That's sort of the $1 million question, right? It's like, okay, like, how do you guarantee that whoever reads this will get sucked in if that's your intention? Which ideally, I guess, at one point, yeah, you should. But when you read it, it's like, okay, because it has a sort of a visceral effect on me, as it were. It's just guarantee amongst other people, and sometimes yes, most times, well, I don't know. What do you think?
Okay. So think it's the Dennis Hopper David Lynch thing. Lynch saying to Hopper, now Dennis, when you say this line, he says, "Fuck." When I say "fuck,"
Yeah.
because yes, when you say this line,
Yeah.
I was like, this is the guy who wrote it,
Yeah. Right.
and he's not going to say it.
Yeah.
So I think there's a line that you can cross where when dialogue, I think, can exist different outside of trying to describe a scene. It's like that whole thing about if you were to use, a whole bunch of adjectives, you're still just talking about one certain thing. It's like when you describe a flower, the flower is red. I was like, is the flower, really red? Is it fucking red? Is it blazingly red? It's still a red flower.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to decide how you're trying to convey that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I cursed.
You almost have, but no, you don't. But you almost have to be, in a way, like I find you have to sort of for something as simple as that, you sort of have to be indirect in the sense it's like, okay, you almost can't come out and say it directly in a way. You have to sort of circle back to it and make it pop, or communicate the visualness of it, right? Yeah, flower is red. Okay, you read it, like, okay, you got it. But then I guess it's important to whatever comes before and after, right?
Yeah.
That element. And instead of it being red, it's like you can use, I guess, more colorful language, like this, blood-soaked flower, as it were, right? Oh, gets to make it just sort of like sizzle a little bit more. Not to say that's the right element that's required for that particular image or whatever, but it's still something how I would imagine, like, how you would in the whole scheme of it, how you want that particular thing to pop out if you needed it to pop out, as it were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This has been Screenwriting with Dads.
Is that the name of the new fucking show? Screenwriting with Dads. Hey, buddy. Oh my God.
It's funny. I had this piece of paper that I've been carrying around, which was topics that I had meant to talk about in my little sidecast.
Yeah.
And never got around to doing.
Why not?
You know what? I've had so many.
I've been checking, by the way. I was like, did he upload another one yet?
Yeah. The problem with the subjects, that's the real issue.
Oh.
Because it's like, I'll give you the rundown of what I was going to talk about. I was going to talk about my first podcast, and using podcast in quotes. Because when I was in, like, let's see, either about 19, 20, or 21, I used to have a tape recorder that me and my friends used to travel around. We would, be in the car up in Pennsylvania, driving around, going places, getting into adventures, and we just have the tape recorder going, recording everything we're saying. Talk about some really incriminating things. Nothing that would be, like,
Yeah, right.
Sex. Well, maybe a little sexist.
Sex, I'm sure.
Nothing racist, but, like, wow, some of the things that we would say. I actually at one time I lost the tape, but I always wanted to recreate the podcast. But I know that my one friend would be like, "Don't just
Move on with your life."
Don't talk about this stuff.
Right.
Because we used to do we used to riff on all kinds of things, and
Sure.
usually it was like, the girls we were dating at that time. Sometimes we were going around trying to pick up women, even if we weren't trying to really pick up women.
Sure.
We used to make fun of quote unquote friends of ours. I remember there being an insult that went, "He's hung like a gym floor." And then I was like, what the hell does that mean? I'm like, I don't know, a gym floor is flat. So if he's flat? So my first podcast, I mean, it was some really, really crazy stuff. What was some other things I had? Sexual awakening, or as I put it, the sexually coming online.
The fuck, Sean?
Huh?
What the fuck? What are you talking about?
Being at a certain age, and then seeing the movie Career Opportunities with Jennifer Connelly.
Dude, I've never seen that.
Okay.
I don't think I've ever heard of it.
It's like a John Hughes-esque movie. I don't think he directed it, but I think he might have written it or produced it.
Okay.
So, Frank Whaley, character actor, he works in a Target because it's an early
I do know this movie. Yeah, I haven't seen it, but I do know it. Yeah.
Night cleaning guy or whatever.
Right.
Jennifer Connelly and him are stuck inside of the Target.
Right. They made a whole Dawson's Creek about this episode in one of the later seasons, I remember. Yeah.
And she's wearing jeans and like a tight tank top. And the idea was like, this is the movie where, you've seen Iron Man?
Yeah.
Okay. Remember when the suit comes online in the cave?
Yes, yeah.
That's what happened.
Really? What year was that? That was like 80. Was that 80, 89, 88?
Oh, I don't know. See, this is you're gonna look this stuff up on phones.
You know what? I try not to do that only because it feels like it's a bit of a cheat. Just to, I think, right? Because then it's better to speculate, and then some asshole can listen to us and be like, "No, you idiot! This is like 88, 89."
I'm gonna go with 1989 because I think it's
sounds like
after
definitely
the
post
hotspot.
Labyrinth.
It's 91.
That late? Holy shit!
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That still was in the period of the 90s, early 90s, where it felt like it was the 80s. Like for some reason, like Home Alone, because Twin Peaks came out in 90, 91, right? But they shot it in 89. So they're basing it like later on in the timeline. They did this whole thing where it's like, no, Laura Palmer actually died in 89, right? Even though the show premiered was in 90, 91, something like that.
Yeah.
And then they sort of fitted it afterwards. They're like, oh no, it was actually at this point. But when we shot the show, and it was like there.
Yeah.
But yeah, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, another movie that feels like maybe no, that was on the cusp. See, I was gonna say 89, 88.
Yeah.
It was in that window, the revolving door.
Yeah, so that was some of the things. The other, let's see.
Wait,
also,
so you wanted to talk about your sexual awakening on your podcast? Is that what you want to do?
Well, mostly just joking about this movie and how,
right?
In my
so
head,
bold, sir.
In my head, I always, whenever I think of Jennifer Connelly, I always think of that movie.
Right.
Because of that. This is Labyrinth. Back she was a little cute and a little puffy, and she had the unibrow, and she was just so so adorable.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
You have a lot of conflicted feelings about watching Labyrinth and being like, how old is she?
Yeah. Well, they had her body beneath. Was it those jeans? And what? Didn't she have a jean jacket in that or no?
Vest.
Vest. It was a vest. But it was like it was jeans. It was a sort of a white shirt in the vest, right? Isn't that what
It was
wore?
like a billowy shirt.
Yeah,
too.
yeah. So it was deliberately, obscuring her figure. So they didn't want to, make it seem like she was so, sexualized, as it were.
Yeah.
Even at the time when she was like, how old was she at the time when she shot that? Was she like a teenager, or was she like?
It came out in '86, I think.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, I think she was 16.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that would be pretty close.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh.
I saw that in the theater. I remember seeing that in the theater. Living in Jersey, I went to go see this weird Jim Henson movie.
Weird Jim Henson, George Lucas movie.
Yeah.
Labyrinth with David Bowie as the Goblin King.
Yeah.
Of all damn things. Tight pants.
Yeah. That's another movie I showed my daughters, and my daughters were like, what the hell are we watching?
I don't like movie night with Daddy anymore. Let's watch Bellatar.
Yeah. Oh. I told you I saw his 7.5-hour movie.
Yeah.
It was on Criterion.
Is it still there, or is it gone by now?
It's still there.
Fuck me, I gotta watch it.
Yeah.
I gotta just do it.
It is...
Satan Tango.
Yeah, I'm not just saying this to be like a poser. It is a hell of a thing.
Yeah.
You have to have the patience for it, and you have to understand what it is that you're watching. It's very, very engaging. It's almost like a binge watch.
Huh? Wow! Shit, man.
Like Bellatar, the first, the first limited series. Full-length filmmaker. I mean, a lot of the European guys were doing that because every one of these classic movies that Bergman made in later part of his career always turned out to be TV movies as well.
Yeah, Fanny and Alexander.
Yeah.
And then oh my God, I guess had it in my head. It was somebody else who was doing something like that too. When you were talking about Bergman, my brain just shifted gears, but I'm sure it'll come back to me. Or something like that. It was like this long epic. Oh, I remember now. I think it was Buddenbrooks, right? Wasn't Buddenbrooks or was it Buddenbrooks or Buddenbrooks? That I don't know how you say it either. I think it was more of a miniseries than it was like a lengthy kind of one sit down and like 7-hour thing. But the reason how I heard about that was I remember Kubrick's brother-in-law / executive producer John Harlan was talking about how he introduced Buddenbrooks to Kubrick, and Kubrick apparently loved it. And then I'm like, I never heard of it. I gotta I put it in the memory bank, and I looked it up and I downloaded it, I think. But I don't know. I haven't gotten around to it. I have to watch that. Oh yeah, Fassbinder. He did a whole bunch of stuff. He did that's on the Criterion now. That's been on Criterion. Oh shit! See, it's been a while. You know that one? He did two series, didn't he?
Yes. Why am
8 hours? Don't make something like that. 8 hours. Yeah. But I have to look this up because I had it in my head and then I just completely forgot it because I haven't thought about it in months. And I've been trying to get around to it. 8 days don't make a week. Call me. 8 days a week. That's an adaptation of the Beatles song. Oh my God. I haven't seen that much Fassbinder. I've seen Ali, Fears the Soul. I've seen, I think, the American Friend. Was that something he did?
No, that was Wim Wenders.
Okay, then I'm gonna get confused. I think it was just called The American, right? Like it was like this gangster guy that shows up to post-war Berlin, and he shot it in black and white. And it was supposed to be like a play on like American noir, but through his perspective. Have you seen this? It's kind of like it's what you'd expect from that description. It's like he robs it of any yeah.
It's crazy. It's funny. I've seen a couple of his movies, and I cannot remember which ones I saw.
He did a lot. I still have to watch.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out if I can.
Fear to Soul was really fucking good, though. It was really good.
I was just trying to write Fassbinder, and I just started writing Fassbinder.
The Fast and the Finder. So I downloaded HBO Max for this month because everything's coming out on it.
Yeah.
Watched. Did you watch the Sopranos movie?
You know what? I didn't yet.
You didn't yet. All right, we got to talk about that sometime. So Dune's coming out next week.
Yeah.
And we've yet to broach the dreaded Denis Villeneuve topic amongst us because we know that's one of those hot button points that I don't really like this dude.
I like
appreciate
Villeneuve and
him,
you don't.
but I know Sean likes Villeneuve. Do you love him or do you just like him? Is he like your boyfriend?
I'll put it this way. I do have an appreciation for one thing, he's made kind of like different kinds of movies too.
I can appreciate that about him.
Like Prisoners and
which I've seen, and I was like, okay, whatever.
And Sicario don't seem like they would be the same movie from a guy that makes, Arrival or
I haven't seen that.
Blade Runner 2049.
That I've seen.
Those two movies seem like they might be the same filmmaker. Whereas Prisoners and Sicario seem different, and you ever see the short film he made?
No.
It's called Next Floor.
Okay.
It's funny. Mm-hmm. It's not very long.
Okay, I'll check it out.
They used to have it. I don't think it was ever on Criterion. I'm trying to think of what I saw it on. I might have seen it on Cinestruck.
Oh shit! Really? Oh wow!
Yeah, I think it was on Cinestruck. Where Criterion was before.
Filmstruck. I think there's something else called Cinestruck too, but when you started talking about the Criterion, I'm like, that's Filmstruck.
Yeah.
I never got into Filmstruck, but all right. Is that still around, by the way? Really quick?
No, it folded.
Gone.
Yeah.
Oh shit! Okay.
They used to have Criterion on Hulu.
Yes.
And then Hulu lost Criterion or whatever. And
that's what I was. Yeah, I was watching it on Hulu back in the day, a couple years ago.
I'm trying to remember what. Before I forget about this, Chinese Roulette. That was one of the movies. Chinese.
No, the Fastbinder. The Fastbinder film. Yeah, that sounds like.
I'll have to look up the other one some other time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember the prank I was going to pull on you about Blade Runner 2049?
I vaguely remember this, but yeah, go ahead. For the sake of our listeners at home and abroad. Yeah.
So I was going to send you a package.
Yes, I do remember this. Yes.
That came from, I forget which production company that was involved with it. And it was supposed to be like, we're heartfully sorry that you have not enjoyed the da-da-da. This is we at such and such production company, would like to, extend an olive branch to you, to enjoy our other films within our library.
Yeah.
We have enclosed a copy. We have enclosed a copy of Hotel for Dogs. For your viewing.
Hotel for Dogs? What the hell's that?
It's a movie. I think Emma Roberts is in it.
Oh, okay. Is that like a kiddie movie?
It's a kids family movie.
Hey, I can watch it to my I can watch it with my daughter. Maybe that's not a bad idea. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, production company. Oh my god.
But I was going to make up I was going to get like letterhead that comes from this.
You would. Yeah, you would.
I just thought it would have been kind of funny.
Yeah.
But I thought to myself, you see this package that comes from this production company, you're going to go, what is this? Is this good news?
Like, what the fuck?
And then you open it up
you're
and you're
right.
like, I'm going to fucking kill this guy.
Yeah, no, I would have been like, fucking asshole. Would you have included off that it was from you, or how would I have known it was I don't know, prank?
A couple years later I might have Well, I sent a package to my old job. And I don't know what happened when it got there, but the one of the guys that I used to work with was going to open up this envelope and pull out a copy of Jugs.
Okay.
at work.
At work. There it is.
That's all that was in it.
That's all that was.
I'm not the return address on it at all.
Well,
it was just a prank.
That would be funny. But, I mean, that's Sean Nolan, master of the understatement.
Yeah.
Jugs.
What the hell is this?
Welcome to Confessions of a Method Writer. Today I'm going to talk about... Oh, my God. But, I mean, all right, Villeneuve, because it's like, I think this was one of the meatier subjects that we haven't got into yet, because I remember sitting down watching Blade Runner 2049. I don't know if it was in IMAX or in Limax, probably Limax, at the AMC. Yeah. But still, the first few minutes, I went by myself, right?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, shit, maybe should I go with long? Because I know we went to go see it was the final cut of Blade Runner back at the Ziegfeld, years ago when that came out. And that was a great.
2007.
Yeah, and that was great. That was one of the, that was it 2000? One of those times. But then that was an adventure, and I thought, okay, Sean, I don't know where Sean is. I don't know why I didn't reach out to you at the time. And then my wife was out she was on like a little getaway with her friends at the time. So it was a rainy Monday. It might have been during Columbus Day weekend that year it came out. 2018, 2019? 2019, I guess, right?
I think it came. Yeah, wait.
It might have been that time.
It came out in the fall, but I can't remember when.
Maybe around that time. But either way, I remember seeing it, and within the first few minutes, I was like, oh my God, maybe this was a mistake, because some of these visuals are amazing, and the whole movie shot fantastically. But then it just went on, and I didn't find myself engaged in it at all. And I don't know if it was me. I guess it was, because everybody else seems to have really fucking enjoyed this movie. And I was just like, okay. And the longer it went on, I'll put it this way: by the time we got to when Ryan Gosling was pulled into that basement and the androids, were they called replicants at that time of the movie in the universe? I don't remember, but they're like, okay, we're gonna rebel in the off-world colonies. I did not give a shit. I was like, okay, you can do whatever you want. And by the time the final fight happened, beyond the seawall, which is the breathtaking scope, I just found it so fucking hilarious. Like Harrison Ford is just sitting there trapped in this is like D.W. Griffith kind of shit, where it's like you see Harrison Ford and he's tied up to the train tracks, but not in this case, but he's like, stuck, and the poor guy looks so perplexed. He's like, what's going on? Why am I sinking? What's happening? I don't understand. And he felt like so old, and I don't know if that was the point, but then you see like these two robots who I can give a shit about fighting in the water. I'm like, what? Fuck, I don't get it. I mean, it didn't work for me. And then by the ending where I should have been crying, I was like, I don't care. Fuck this movie. And from then on, I've been an enemy of Villeneuve ever since. But Dune looks all right. But Dune looks okay. And really quick, I remember reading a thing with an interview with Ridley Scott, because he executive produced the movie. Yeah. So he talked about how it was like he blamed himself because it was just too long. I'm like, maybe, I don't know. I mean, maybe a fan cut of the movie would probably work for me, but I swear to God, it's like everybody, and maybe you can shed some light on this. I guess how, some people talk about Kubrick being like the super overrated filmmaker, especially when 2001 came out and subsequent films. But for me, it's like I see Villeneuve, I'm like, I can appreciate, the visuals and the what he's going for, but I don't know. It just doesn't click. Maybe I have to watch more Villeneuve movies to sort of get it. Maybe Doom will do it for me. I don't know. I don't know if you can go into that as a Villeneuve fan.
I'm not really sure what it is.
Is it a thing?
Maybe it is. It's okay. To get into, I guess, somebody. I think a lot of his movies they're told pretty well visually, whether or not the story is always top notch. Which, funny enough, I mean, Blade Runner is probably one of the, I guess, weakest stories
that he's done so far.
No, I just mean like the movie Blade Runner, the first one.
The first
probably
movie?
One of the weakest stories, but one of the best visually told stories. Because because when you kind of break down what the plot is, you go, "This is it."
Right. but still though, I mean, Blade Runner, at least you're in this other. Really, the line, like whatever the line is between you and that world, just dissolves immediately because you want to be in there so badly because it's so atmospheric and so futuristically envisioned, right? That you want to just dive in.
And that's
which
what
is not
I
too
would say,
dissimilar.
That's
from
the
2049
Kubrick effect.
True.
Kubrick.
The Kubrick effect.
I'm trying to remember. I don't know if it was one of the teachers at SVA had said this, but was that Stanley Kubrick doesn't have the best written movies, doesn't have the best visual movies, but he has a great balance of both. And I would say, he's probably is foremost a very visual filmmaker, but that every story is his interpretation of whatever it is he wants to say anyway. That's why he would never have another writer, like a sole writer.
Right.
People would write with him.
Yeah, he's had a whole team of people throughout his different films, yeah.
It's like the joke I always have about The Shining, where if you were to ever see his copy of The Shining, the book, the book is completely blacked out. Right. One of my joke pranks was going to be me doing an unboxing of having bought a Stanley Kubrick's copy that I had gotten from his family because I won some kind of thing. And I got the copy in the mail. And I actually found a copy. One of the old paperbacks.
Yeah.
That would have been from like 1977. And it's the visual
the notes
of Jack Torrance. He's got like the little blonde. Actually, looked a lot like my hair, and he's like this.
Yeah.
And it looks like you're about to read like Anna Green Gables cover.
Yeah, right.
And the joke was going to be me looking at it and then trying to see, you could see, his marks. The marks he put in the book.
The marks of the Kubrick.
And everything is just blacked out. And at one point, it just says crap. Where
it says red rum, he like circles and puts like this is okay.
Yeah. just writing on pages like stupid. Why does he go to town?
He writes his own grocery list.
Yeah.
Like go to store.
Go to store.
Go to store.
Wow, I got really off topic on that one. So anyway, Denis Villeneuve. I don't know.
Hey, Denis Villeneuve. Come on.
I had a friend of mine that anytime he would always talk about it, he's like, do you like, the Denis Villeneuve? And I'm like, well, it's Denis Villeneuve. And he's like,
Villeneuve.
Are you sure? And I'm like,
yeah.
Well, he's French Canadian.
Yeah. Quebecois.
And the way that you would pronounce it would be Denis, and the last name is Villeneuve. And he's like, I don't know about that. That's literally what he said to me. Same guy who used to say Shyamalan, M. Night Shyamalan. This is like 15 years after The Sixth Sense, okay? Where his name has been said by people
Shyamalan.
A lot. M. Night Shyamalan. Yeah.
Shyamalan.
Yeah.
That is Shyamalan.
For what it's worth, he also used to call Kubrick Kubik.
I don't know. I'll tell you this. I'll confess to this. I have a fondness of people who can deliberately mispronounce, or not deliberately mispronounce, but maybe unconsciously mispronounce words. They put accents on the wrong syllable. It just opens a door of possibilities. It's like because if you notice, if you just put Shyamalan and Shyamalan in somewhere, if you pronounce it that way anywhere else, people won't catch that. So they'll unless they read it and they're familiar with M. Night Shyamalan, does this guy mean Shyamalan? Is this what this guy's talking about? Shyamalan.
Yeah, but he's like the first word is Shyamalan, like Shyamalan.
Shyamalan.
Shame on
Shyamalan. Shame on you.
Shyamalan.
Shame. Hashtag shame. If you ever ran for public office, Shyamalan.
Yeah.
Hashtag Shyamalan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm beating up on this guy now, but yeah.
I don't know. It happens. What else did you want to dive into tonight?
I don't know. See, I wrote some things
Yeah,
down.
you got a list of shit. Yeah, I didn't. I was expecting once we confirmed for tonight. Sorry, but it took me a while to confirm. But it was okay. I think we can do it. And I was expecting. Okay, by the way, we're going to talk about this list of stuff. I was like, okay, yeah, that's fine. And then we're going to re-rolling it as soon as I know.
To kind of circle back to one thing about how, we always kind of talk about writing or the history of what we used to write or something. The project that I brought up, the one that you told me to not...
Yeah, cut it out.
Yeah.
To be like, hey, consider cutting this out because, this is a lot of... Yeah.
Yeah. So, right now I'm on page 80.
Oh, shit, bro. Well, it's been a few months since we talked about it, so I'm not surprised.
Here's the crazy thing. I would say it is about 99% dialogue.
Ah, okay.
I am in... maybe the second act.
Oh shit! Really? At 80? Is it late second act at this point, or
maybe late-ish? I don't know.
I don't want to. You brought it up. I don't like talking about this kind of shit, and unless it's done or something. But
well, no. Here's what I find funny. I'm actually having a problem figuring out how to write action description for this. Because it's not so much that it seems like a play, because in my head there is, think of it almost like 12 Angry Men, but there are entire set pieces that are in much larger spaces. Mm-hmm. A lot of people just yelling at each other. A lot of insulting things. I would say that there's probably a bunch of me airing out certain... I don't know, thoughts about, I'm not going to say the world, but I would just say the relationship of that people have with certain groups, certain people, certain ethnicities. Who's better to write about this than a white Irish guy?
Yeah, right. Anybody's got a voice.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's, very interesting. I read some of it to Anne. She's just like, oh, I know. I know exactly what you're writing about. And I'm like, what am I writing about? She tells me. She's like, you're writing about this. And I went, yeah, I am.
Yeah.
There's a lot of thinly veiled things in it. And, but the real problem is me trying to write action description, imagining being in a large space and you have 10 different characters that will be talking almost rapid fire toward each other, but they're in different spots of this area to the point where it's I have to keep thinking about, does this person have to turn, look there? I was like, it was the action description starts to get really boring.
You know what this reminds me of though? This reminds me of Altman. When Altman does this kind of stuff, isn't it? I mean, cinematically, isn't that also what you have in your head a little bit?
Yes,
I mean, if you're talking about,
it's like with Popeye. So it all just is, everything's. The Popeye Island.
I see you, asshole.
Yeah, the Popeye Island still exists.
Yeah, I saw that.
You can go there.
We should go. We should make a pilgrimage. We'll take Paul Thomas Anderson with us. Gladly pay your Tuesday for a hamburger today.
Yeah.
Did you see this guy, by the way? He's been trending on whatever. Who does this? I didn't see this, but he does a really good Robin Williams impression from the Mork and Mindy days.
I did, yeah.
We'll bring him along too.
Yeah.
What the hell not?
Yeah.
What the hell you got? You gonna drink something? What is that?
That's a LaCroix.
A LaCroix!
LaCroix.
Oh my god, you guys gotta come over because we have a shit ton of that. Like, Serena loves that stuff.
Yeah, I buy them all the time. Different flavors.
Yeah. We got, was it the lemon lime one or something?
Yeah, I got, this is limoncello.
Limoncello, yeah. I should get a can. We can have a LaCroix night. I'm not trying to be an asshole. I am an asshole. But I'll get the LaCroix can.
So anyway, without getting too far in the weeds about the,
Right.
Is that I'm noticing I'm actually having a problem trying to figure that out. I'm like, I thought the political stuff was going to be a problem. And
no, just do it, Sean.
Do you want to know what I did? Is that I actually came up with my own set of rules. So everything exists in my universe. And that way people can't say, this isn't how things work. And I'm like, well, yeah, I guess you don't live there.
There you go.
Fuck you.
There you go. Fuck you. It's done. But you know what, though? I mean, isn't this one of those... this sounds like one of those problems where if you work through it... This might sound naive, but if you just write the rest of the film out, then hopefully by the time you get to the end or you give it some time afterwards to process, then it clicks in as to, what the action description should be. Like, it'll come into place, I think, right?
Yeah. Funny enough, I don't know what the ending is. I thought I did, and it's... I don't know. The characters don't seem like they're headed that way. I gotta talk to the characters. They,
Yeah. But shit, I mean, you haven't... Aside from Babe McTeague, is this the next big screenplay that you've worked on in a while, I guess, right?
Yeah, it's actually it's been a while. I will admit the muscle is not. It atrophied a little bit, which I think is probably.
You talked about this.
Yeah, I think one of the problems with it not just being a collection of pages and pages of dialogue where you actually have to maybe build more of a scene, so people aren't just standing there like sticks.
Like six. What was it? 6 characters in search of an author? Was it 6 characters in search of an author? It's not 8, is it? It's 6. I don't know. It's Pirandello. It's been a while, man. 6 characters in search of an author.
I think this is one of the, this is completely different from me because I'm used to just, it's always like, I know you, asshole.
No, see, and I was going to make that joke, but it's not, because as long as I've known you, you do like to take things in interesting directions, right? Like when you led me into that warehouse and you locked the door behind me, you would be like, "You figured this out now, asshole." That's totally total joke. That never really happened. I'm trying to bust his balls. But no, I mean, whenever you jump around to different screenplays, or different projects, it always be a little bit interesting. It's like, okay, now he's doing this. Like, I think people who've listened to this show long enough, the hours and hours that we put into it for, the handful of people who listen, it's totally ripping off Conan O'Brien. Did you ever hear that bit about he was getting ready to go to Italy with Jordan Schlansky, and he goes, he said something like, "I'm a devoted comedian. I've created hundreds and thousands and thousands of hours of entertainment for hundreds and hundreds of people."
Yeah.
I could fought at that one. I'm like, that was good. That was good. But yeah, you've always taken shit into interesting directions, and it's like, one thing that pops out in my head was when you were making Man Brush, and you had the great idea of having, it was a cop's family, and the wife was leaving, right? And you'd have the cop, the image of this, this cop car just, going full blaze, sirens going, speeding down this neighborhood. Guy comes up and says, "Was it stop or hold it right there or something?" And it's his wife leaving him, basically, right? Yeah.
Or freeze or some shit.
Freeze. It was freeze.
It's so silly to think in my head that's almost a naked gunshot.
In a way, yeah. Yeah. But still, though, I mean, it's not like you're, it's not like you're fucking bereft of ideas. It's like you just, you get pulled into different things that you can feel you can make it of interest. When you were talking about that last one, it doesn't have a title, does it? I don't think. Not that they say you should pressure you into.
This is the problem. I almost wish I could figure out a title for it because
that happens to me all the time.
Something that would come out of something that was said, or finding some kind of. I was almost hoping to find something that existed in the world to kind of. Well. I got to tell you about this. I'm not going to talk about it here, but what I did is I had created a political loophole. And I came up with a name for it in Latin. That is not going to be the title. Because that is it's just too bizarre. But I was like, I need to find something like that to mean this. Because it's actually a great metaphor for what the entire thing is. But I'm not giving it a title in Latin. That's way too pretentious.
No, I don't think you should think of it as pretentious, dude. It's like I think whatever does it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like the one example that I can come up with right now is you know that movie If, right, with Michael McDowell, the school shooting movie, right?
Yeah.
And it's just one of those things where it's like, okay. And I've seen some Lindsay Anderson movies. When I heard McDowell talking about Lindsay Anderson, it's like, oh, Lindsay Anderson's way better director than Kubrick. I'm like, shit, I have to watch Lindsay Anderson. He talks about Lindsay Anderson all the time. So I watched If, and I watched, the follow-up to If. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
The one, Lucky Man. Lucky Man.
I was trying to remember
which is fantastic.
The name of it, yeah.
And there's a third one, which I haven't seen. And I know it's on Criterion. It was at one point. But I've seen Lucky Man. I've seen If. And I'm like, okay. No, okay, is If a pretentious title? I don't know. But it makes me want to think. The only thing I can think of is maybe this is a reference to the Rudyard Kipling poem. You know, is that, I don't know if you know it. It's like, this is how you become a man if da-da-da-da-da, if this, that. And at the very last line it says something to the effect of, then you'll be lucky to be a man, my son. Something like that. So there's a reference to that. I didn't watch the movie closely enough to get it because I'm sure that they didn't refer to Rudyard Kipling's poem in that. If that was the intention, no pun intended. But still, I mean, I think it's whatever works.
I'm sorry, I just had like a joke in my head. It was like a Rudyard Kipling quote, and it was like, it was the
Man Who Would Be King
said, keep it real, Mowgli.
I have to check that out again. I haven't seen those movies in a while.
All right. Mowgli, I seen shit you wouldn't believe.
Mowgli, yeah. Down. Oh, come on. They couldn't even get fucking Vangelis to come back for 2049. Why is that? Have you ever asked yourself that? Like, why couldn't
he's still alive?
Yes, of course he's still alive.
Like the last movie I thought he scored was like Alexander.
Yeah. But still, though, he's still around, bro. They did I don't know how long this is. Maybe it was from when he scored Alexander, but it's on YouTube. It's a clip that's been floating around of him just coming up with synth. He'd have like these keyboards all around him, and then he would just come up with the symphony. He just play, it's like this modern or postmodern or 21st century synth organist type of stuff where you just come up with like this fantastic piece. He's some of my favorite themes though. Even 1492, which I don't think gets enough airplay. Come on. Da na 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 na. That's fucking awesome. Oh, and should we even
about Christabel Colon?
Should we even talk about the new Ridley Scott movie coming out? Was it the Last Duel? We should.
What do you want to talk about?
Dude, I don't know. It's all fucking all over the place. We can just talk about whatever.
Is that I'm really glad that he's making. Okay, when Ridley Scott dies, nobody's making movies like this anymore.
No.
Because I don't think anybody is going to want to give a shit to.
Yeah, I think so.
So I'm glad that he does, at least.
Mm-hmm.
And I know, he's almost 100 years old, and he has he's planning on making another 20 movies.
Goddamn, really?
He's 85, I think, something like that.
When did Tony Scott pass away? I know he killed himself, but was that when? Shit.
14.
All right. How old was he? He was older than Ridley Scott, right?
I think he's younger.
He was a younger brother. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That was amazing when that happened.
Yeah.
I wonder. I mean, I hope he finishes his Prometheus trilogy. You know what? After watching, that's something else that we talked about before. When I remember you told me you confessed to me. He's like, "Hey, listen, I really love Prometheus." Remember you said that to me. I'm like, "Okay, cool, right?" And I didn't get Prometheus until I saw Alien Covenant, and that's when I got Prometheus a bit more, which is funny because people love shitting on those movies. And when I watched Alien Covenant, it was like I was doing like this cross. I don't know where I was with Sabrina. We were doing we were doing a flight, and they had both Prometheus and Alien Covenant on oh god, what the fuck is it? Not pay-per-view, but you can select it to watch, in-flight movie. Yeah. And I watched Alien Covenant, and I wasn't a fan of maybe half that movie, and it really picked up for me when they got to the Acropolis and David is there. Yeah. And then it struck me like, oh my god, is the first half of this movie Ridley Scott's kind of like statement of saying like, listen, for ahead of his time, like this because the first half of that movie is kind of like a slasher movie, like a teen slasher movie. Like when you have James Franco being the captain of the ship, I'm like, dude, I'm not gonna take this seriously. And then he dies, and everybody else under his ship dies, and then you find out what happened to Elizabeth Shaw. Amazingly, you find out what happened to Elizabeth Shaw at the end, towards like the latter half of Alien Covenant, and then you have this epic battle with like Ripley Light, which is I think was what oh my god, that's it's McCoy's daughter. Do you know D.A. McCoy from District Attorney McCoy from Law and Order? What's his name?
Oh yeah.
Oh god, you know what I'm talking about? Catherine Waterston, right? And she was sort of played like Ripley Light in that movie. But then it's like by the time you get to like the final betrayal, spoiler alert, who cares? And then David's still kind of like the head honcho, and you're like, okay, where the hell is this going? I was intrigued. I'm like, you know what? When I was in that flight, I'm gonna go back and watch Prometheus. And it was an abbreviated version of Prometheus, sure, but I liked it better the subsequent time I watched it after Covenant. I haven't heard people talk about that.
My thought on it is this. I never understood why people shit on him so much, as if there is such a protected canon to those. Why can't you have peripheral stories? I didn't think Prometheus had to be an alien movie. It didn't have to have a xenomorph in it. And why did it, didn't need to have one. I thought that they originally did have an idea of where they were going, and that all kind of changed when they found they were like, oh, well, this didn't perform the way we wanted it to. We're going to get back to more of a, horror kind of elements to it.
Right.
It's the, on Alien Day, they had like some short films that you could watch. I don't know where the hell that was. I think it was a YouTube channel. And I was like, why can you not just make stories within this universe? And they don't have to be things that have to tie completely back into it. Right. I didn't think that, that Prometheus did anything wrong by doing that. Mm-hmm. I like that Covenant kind of went in a different direction and did bring it,
back to
it. I would have been fine if it didn't. It's, but I thought it was, I think it was good that it did. Just lost a certain train of my thought there, but
that happens to me all the time.
I like to me, like Alien is one of at least in the last 50 years. I think it's one of the best shot, best composed looking movies that's been made.
You love that movie, man. I
Yeah.
remember when we were in school, you just talked to me about how it was made, and especially Dan O'Bannon. And yeah,
Well, I'm not a Dan O'Bannon fan.
but you know what's funny is just that you gave me like I wasn't electric, but it was just you gave me like a little bit of a like just went into it. You just went into it like Dan O'Bannon at the time. I forgot, like I think this was second year or third year or something. I was like, oh shit, really? I was like, it just drew me in.
Yeah, well, it always sounds like funny enough, anything that Dan O'Bannon's written, I like. I don't think that involves Alien. It's really fun. He Dead and Buried.
Oh wow.
What else? Blue Thunder, Return of the Living Dead.
Oh, that's right. Shit,
The
yeah, I
hell
forgot
else
about
did
that.
he write?
Yeah. Return of the Living Dead.
Let's see. Did he do? Anyway. So I don't like have anything against him with that, but it's like I've read the script that that was called Star Beast, and it
Does it really?
kind of has a resemblance to Alien.
Huh.
It Came from Outer Space also has a resemblance to Alien. So if anything, Alien actually owes more to It Came from Outer Space than it does to Star Beast.
Fuck.
Which doesn't have any of the same characters, and I don't even mean the names. Because all the character names are different.
Yeah.
What I mean is that all the dialogue's different.
Yeah.
All the characters and what they do are completely different. So the movie was completely rewritten. So,
Yeah.
I don't know,
But what made you... Go ahead.
I was going to say, he's lucky that, the screenwriting credits were given to you in a much more laxed way back then. And unfortunately, if the story that I've heard is that if Walter Hill hadn't pushed to get writing credit taken away from him, Dan O'Bannon would not be given the credit going forward, because it was a all or nothing.
Okay.
So they went with the original writer as opposed to the guys who did the rewrite.
Right. Huh. Oh, wow.
And this is just, this is all from, based on the stories that they tell. And the registered scripts. Because, the Walter Hill and David Giler, they're the ones who added Jones the cat.
Thank God.
Yeah, that cat is... why am I getting on this? This is
Alien. This is what you love talking about.
This is just me riffing on Alien.
What do you think you're talking about? Like, when you brought it back to Prometheus, because I know you shared with me a long time ago that you really like that movie. Do you still like it as much as you did before? Or
oh, very.
Yeah.
I have a funny little story. It's a Dan O'Bannon story.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the podcasts I listen to, Junk Food Cinema. They did a series on Dan O'Bannon. I just said Dan O'Bannon, where they talked about Dead and Buried, and they talked about Alien, and they talked about. Let's see. I think they might have Return of the Living Dead, and I think they talked about one other movie.
Yeah.
Oh, it was Blue Thunder, the Roy Scheider.
Was it
high-tech helicopter movie?
Yeah, right.
Just like. The Airwolf gets taken from that. And
gotta love myself some Roy Schneider.
One of the guys on the podcast said that Dan he had a ongoing health problem because he died from having I think he had celiac disease.
What's that?
It's
Celiac disease.
like an abdominal issue with digestion, or
Okay.
I don't know all of it, but it got exacerbated by him being cramped up and filming during the movie Dark Star.
Oh my god.
You ever seen Dark Star?
No.
It's bad.
Wait, time out. Was that John Carpenter also?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's, as John Carpenter said, it was either the best student film or the worst professional film. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's bad. It's bad. Yeah, it's bad.
It's
Anyway,
bad.
It's bad. That's what I'm saying. It's not. It's not even.
You sound like me trying to describe 2049.
Ha 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 ha. What was I saying? So he was saying that he because of his health issues, he always had a problem with doctors because he never gets good news from doctors. So he always makes the doctor a bad guy in his scripts.
Right.
Now, for one thing, we're talking about a loose definition of a doctor here. Ash is a scientist. I mean, he's a robot, for one thing. But
Well,
Ash,
Sean, spoiler alert. Come on, man.
yeah, right. Yeah.
People aren't supposed to know about that.
It's been over 40 years if you haven't seen it. This is like having seen Heat, okay? If you haven't seen Heat, too bad, okay?
No. You're supposed to say, this is like the third time you're supposed to say it. If you haven't seen it, fuck you. That's what you're supposed to say.
If you haven't seen it, fuck you, okay?
Come on, it's a podcast. We have to have our tropes. We have to have our memes.
I was like, and for a weird thing, everybody who dies in Alien has been dying in that order in real life.
Oh shit, you serious?
Almost. Tom Skerritt's still alive.
Oh wow. So Sigourney Weaver's still, she's still around, obviously. Yaphet Kotto, yeah. Huh.
And Vanessa Cartwright's still alive. So
Yeah. Huh. Oh no.
So Tom Skerritt ruined the
order.
Ruined the order.
Yeah.
So Ash, is he really a doctor? Okay. What else we got?
Isn't the protocol droid?
Dead and Buried. You ever seen Dead and Buried?
No, I haven't.
Okay. So I would suggest seeing it, but I'm just gonna. Okay.
I will.
So Jack
Jack
Albertson, oh
my god,
grandpa from Willy Wonka, is in it.
Yeah.
And he's like this antagonist in the movie, who's a funeral director, and he's the coroner. A coroner is not a doctor. A funeral director is not a doctor. What else we got?
But one can argue that they lean towards officialdom, which is what doctors sort of represent.
Yeah.
Is that what he kind of is playing with?
But this guy in the podcast specifically said doctors. And then Return of the Living Dead, there's a funeral director in that too, which the guy is seen as being a little shady.
Oh, I see.
So I sent them a message to this podcast going, none of these guys are doctors. I said, I was like, I hate to be this guy, but I was like, did you come up with this, or did Dan O'Bannon say this? Because if you came up with this, I think maybe it's not correct. If Dan O'Bannon came up with this, I don't think he knows what these people do. He wrote me a nice response, which was just like,
oh no.
I think he was just generalizing. And I'm like,
Did you take a picture of yourself? Did you take a selfie making that face and sending it to them?
I was like, I get the feeling he's the one who came up with it.
Yeah,
and he was passing it on to a dead man. So, oh well. That was my Dan O'Bannon, me saying, me mansplaining to a podcaster.
Mansplaining. I wanted to go back to your script really quick. the one that you're working on now. And the one thing I wanted to ask, because you know what, I mean, I always get so sensitive when it comes to talking about things that are in the works, that are in development or something. Just in general, because I feel like if you David Lynch talked about this, where if you start talking about it, if you talk about it too much, something's missing, some of the magic is gone, right? I feel like I definitely I think that's correct. At least for me personally, do you feel that way too a little? Like you just feel like you'd rather not go into things too much, not because you might not necessarily know where it's going or you're not 100% on certain things, but because you'd rather have the process or the art or the work happen when you're doing it, as opposed to say when you and I are talking about it or talking about it with Anne, or you're bringing it up with anybody else for that matter. What's sort of the slide rule, if any, for you when it's like about talking about projects? Because for me, you have your trusted people, and then you have the private time. And I feel like for me, it's like 90% private time, maybe 95% private time. And then maybe 5% if telling people about it. Because
I would agree with you. I would say that when it comes to certain things for me, as my history has kind of said, I've had some things stolen from me. So,
sure, yeah.
Oh well. Moving on. When it comes to some of the things I work on, it tends to be so solitary.
Yeah, me too.
That I think I get a little anxious about wanting to share it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't feel like if I'm talking about it with you, or I'm talking about it with Anne,
mm-hmm.
I don't think that the magic is gone from that.
Okay.
I think if I start talking about it with other people
out of the world, yeah,
then something's wrong.
Yeah, I agree. I think something happens there.
When I do eventually get around to filming my
non-narrative, I was going to ask you about that too.
Well, here's the problem. I have, because I wanted to film this. We'll call it a monologue in 3 different settings. And so far I only have 2. I should just do the one and then figure out how to do the other one, but then I don't have a third one. I just kind of figure it would be nice just to at least shoot it in 3 ways and then decide whether or not I need it. Did this have anything to do with what we were talking about?
No, you just brought it up. We were non-narrative really quick. And I wanted to ask you how that was going, because you talked about it last time.
Because I was actually going to talk about... man, why does it... I think I forgot how I was connecting it to that. Hey, people, this is live radio. Listen up as I fuck up, talking
we
about
all
my story.
Fuck up. We were talking about, privacy in regards to the work, if it's necessary. Yeah. And you said yes, especially for you, because you can't air it to the world. And then, because if you do, there's something wrong. And I agree with that. And just to backtrack to what you were talking about, because then you start talking about your narrative thing, and that's when I pried into it, funny enough. Only because you mentioned it in the last podcast, and I know that you were, I figured, okay, it'd be kind of nice to sort of drop little updates if you feel comfortable with it, on the subsequent ones, just to sort of trace the journey of this, you know? And I don't know exactly right now how it connects, but I'm sure when we listen to this, we're like, oh shit, that's what we're talking about. And then we'll publish a correction or an update or something. But, yeah. But yeah. But it's interesting because I don't like putting anything out there unless I have a strong feeling that I should. Like I finished writing, I finished typing up a draft to the story that I I'm not going to talk about, but the one thing that popped out at me that when I was rereading it and typing it over, because I write everything longhand, was that there was a phrase that I used called something like the gateway that was missing. And I'm like, oh, there it is, the missing gateway. I don't know if it's going to be the title, but it's very strongly that might be the title. And I love titles. Whenever I get something a good title, I'm like I'm all over that shit. That's for me. It's something. There's something magic about titles. When you get a really good title, it's like instant drug. It takes you somewhere else, like immediately. You know, that's why one of my favorite titles of mine that I love, that I guess invented because it sounded like such a yarn. This is something I have to do. Tales of the Infinite Vagabond, Silas Passenger. When I don't know about you, but when I hear that, when it's like music to my ears, it's like, where the hell can you go with this? You can go anywhere with it. Anything can happen. You see. So that's where I'm like, okay, that's gonna be my like million story, whatever that's gonna be. I don't care, right? But then, in regards to sharing and getting things ready for the world, as it were, there are some moments where you just know. I'm like, okay, this is what I'll put out there because I feel like we're all on the same page. We're all on the same page. We're looking around the room. Yes, okay. It might not be the final thing, but sure enough, this is what I feel like is good enough to go out. And I don't know if, the quote-unquote pros, they feel the same way about this certain stuff, especially when you work in an environment where you have to interface with a PR and publicity department. It was funny. You have to read this. Did you read the William Friedkin autobiography, the memoir he wrote?
No.
There was this whole list of, I think it was, I don't know if I'm getting my wires crossed here, but there's this whole list of titles that the studio was giving him for the French Connection, I think. And he was looking at him like, no, this is all stupid. None of this is communicating for what I want. This is the French Connection. Let's leave it at that, right? It was like one of them was like something similar to like Popeye and Cloudy. I mean, but it's these guys. And what's so funny was that during the Milius documentary, right, there was a moment where I think I don't know if it was him and the guy when they were working on Big Wednesday together, and the studio requested changes, and it was like bullshit studio changes. So put the new changes on blue paper so that we know. Sure enough, Milius told his co-writer, and he says, fuck that. What you do is that you put the same thing that we wrote already on blue pages. Don't change anything. You send it back. Sure enough, what happens is the story goes, and who knows if this is real or not, but I like to think of it as because Friedkin also went through something like this very similarly, where they sent the blue pages back with nothing changed, and people thought, oh, that's brilliant. Thanks for changing it. Fucking same thing happened to Friedkin. I don't know, maybe during that journey of making French Connection, right? Because he said that was an arduous journey of itself. It took him years to make that movie, apparently, to get it from the germ to when he was riding around with a guy who's based on Popeye Doyle and the guy who's based on Cloudy.
Yeah.
And then to when, production and then release, that it was a whole battle, right? And then there would be changes, not necessarily script changes that people at God, I want to say Warner Brothers, but I don't think it was Warner Brothers. You know who was the company that I don't know if they released
French Connection?
Yeah, do you remember what that was?
Fox.
It's not. Was it Fox?
Yeah.
All right. Well, still, maybe either way, even if it wasn't French Connection, there were stories that Friedkin told about people saying like, "Can you just adjust this or take that?" Maybe it was for Exorcist. Who knows? And it was kind of like, no. Just do this. Just show them the same thing. Don't even show them anything new. Don't even try to waste your brain power on trying to create something, different from what these people want. Granted, this is the 70s, and who knows if it's the same as it is today. Obviously not. But at the same time, these guys were smart enough to be like, no, we're not going to change a damn thing. And they didn't say it outright. They just be like, okay. And to go off on another tangent, in the 80s, when Spielberg was putting together, do you know the story about what's the guy's name? The guy who's running Scheinberg. I think it was Sid Sheinberg. Do you know this? You know about the whole thing with Back to the Future, where it was like I was a teenage alien or something like that.
Oh,
and
the
name of that. Yeah. That's another example. Where it was like
Spaceman from
Spaceman. Yeah, it was something like that.
I've heard the story.
And I guess it was Spielberg and Zemeckis looked at each other and was like, this is we don't want to do this. And Spielberg was like, that's very funny, Sid. And I guess Sid was like, okay, he backed off. So it's like kind of like, how do you because I feel like now when people get memos, everything's so PC and kind of like, okay, sure, yeah, we'll do it. That they don't have any. Not to say they don't have any gumption or backbone, but it feels like they just consider it and they sort of absorb it. And sometimes they say, these creators, these producers, these filmmakers, whatever, will say no at certain points. They know they pick their battles, but for the most part, it feels like they just deceive. They also be like whoever corporations wants certain content made. To go back to that, they don't care about the vision of the director or anything. They just want to be like, okay, you know what, we need to get something family friendly, or not even family friendly, but politically friendly out there. So work this into your script somehow.
Yeah.
Cast these certain people.
Yeah.
And it's like, but I mean, we can try it, but it's like, but we have a certain vision in my head. It's like, no. I guess, if you want money for this, if you don't want us to fuck around with your future projects, then you get this done. And then they do it. That's what it seems like to me. Because a lot of things seems awfully, homogenous in their, I don't know, induced diversity maybe.
Well, one of the biggest issues is the fact that nowadays, film studios are not owned by somebody or like a group.
You mentioned this,
yeah. So I think that because you're trying to do things with like more of a bottom line. And I mean, it's always been a business, but
yeah, sure.
I always just kind of regurgitate the same story about when Paramount was, it was owned by a board of directors that was owned by. Okay, so the main guy was Charlie Bluedorn, and they still had the New York guys. So somebody, and you had to answer to somebody, but it wasn't like AT&T, or it wasn't, some of these other conglomerates.
Yeah.
It was the company that was like, well, we can give Bob Redford $1 million. Take it or leave it. That's all we can get for him. If he doesn't take it, the project's dead. Whereas nowadays it's like, well, we want to lock in so and so we're going to have him 10-picture deal where it's $20 million a picture. Like back then, it'd be like, why don't we wait and see? we're not going to lock ourselves into some pay and play with
right.
With Vin Diesel or something. It's like, if you can't get Vin Diesel, who we can get who's the same age? Paul Giamatti. Paul Giamatti and Vin Diesel are a week apart in age. Could you imagine Triple X with Paul Giamatti?
No fucking way.
They are the same age. Serious? They are a week apart.
All right, I'm tempted to look this up, but I won't. Just to make it, for people to listen to this. To be like,
he could have been Xander Cage. I'm telling you. A little mumble guy would just grab his snowboard. He's gonna go down there, man.
Yeah. Fucking hate Merlot. It could have been Vin Diesel also in Sideways.
Yeah.
Could have been Vin Diesel as John Adams. It could have been Vin Diesel. Could have been Vin Diesel as what's this guy from American Splendor? Charlie. Oh my God, what's his name? Harvey
Pecor.
Pecor, right?
Yeah. I thought you'd get a kick out of that. They're the same age. Yeah.
Shit, man. That reminds me of that again. I'm happy I watched this documentary because there's that moment. Remember when Milius is now working with for Conan. He's working with Dino De Laurentiis.
Yeah.
De Laurentiis says, "Who do you want for Conan?" And Milius says, "We want Arnold Schwarzenegger." Laurentiis goes, "Fuck that. We're not doing that. I'm not working with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Who's next on your list?" And there's a pause, and Milius says, "Dustin Hoffman." This is good. Fuck you. Go make your movie. Oh my God, man. Yep, that's how it is. That's the film business. I always remember my dad telling me about how my grandfather, when they were in Spain, when he grew up in Spain, they brought him to see, like, they were watching some race movie. I forgot what it was. It was at the time, what was like, this was what, in the 50s, 60s, so it was like a race car movie. And he leaned over, my grandfather leaned over next to my father, and my father says, my grandfather pointed at the screen and said, "See all that up there? It's all lies. All of it. It's all lies." Can you imagine? He just, it kind of was like, how's that possible? These people are doing it, you know. But at the same time, it's like it's still bullshit. Still bullshit, my friend. Like, you know what I want to ask you was, how much of your day is in movies, like when you or in what you like, you love thinking about and diving into that, and how much of it is kind of like not like how often do you slip into that I don't know, that world during your day where it's like, okay, you'll be doing your thing or whatever it is, and then it doesn't even have to be because you live in an apartment with movies in your apartment, but it can be like, doing anything outside, and your brain takes a sidestep, or your brain just clicks in, and you're like, okay, this is like this movie, or this is like that movie.
Quite a lot.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
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 It's very sporadic. I mean, very spread out throughout the day.
Mm-hmm.
Little moments.
Yeah.
Sometimes extended moments. It's really funny when it happens while I'm driving.
Right. Right. Yeah, I feel this. It just, these like inherently cinematic modes of thought just happen, right? And then you want to, I don't know about you, but you kind of want to sort of seize that in a way, and trying to make something out of that, right? Like you want to make sure that, I don't know, you want to sort of communicate to people that this is what you see at that time, and then hopefully it can click with other people, and. Isn't that something like that we can do that?
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess figured I'd ask you. I'll bring it up somehow because it's easy when we talk about it, right? Because it feels like this is a format that lends itself well to not just talking about anything, but talking about films especially, right? And then I was just thinking when you were talking about, I forgot what we were talking about earlier. Just it was Dan O'Bannon that. I was like, oh shit! I wonder. That's a good one to ask him. It's like how often does he shift into movie mode, as it were, during it happens an awful lot.
Yeah.
And yeah. You got anything else you wanted to bring up before we? I guess we wrap up sooner or later, or what do you think?
I don't know. It's I've been watching a lot of horror movies leading up to Halloween.
'Tis the season.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I haven't watched any. I guess. Well, we watched one yesterday. We watched that Kevin Costner and Diane Lane movie on HBO. The Let 'Em Go.
Okay.
That was tense. That was kind of borderline horror movie a little bit. I think. Have you seen that?
Now I know the one you're talking about.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it though.
Yeah. We're kind of like all watching it. We're like, oh my god. And I kept thinking like this is like this is the whole movie feels like because and the Zack Snyder verse, Kevin Costner and Diane Lane play Jonathan and Martha Kent respectively, right?
Oh,
They're
yeah.
Superman's, so something happens early on in the movie, like really at the first 5 minutes of the movie, and I feel like, wait, is this sort of like an alternate version of Superman? Like what would happen if Clark Kent didn't make it?
Yeah.
And what would happen for the rest of the like? Would it be like if Clark Kent never became Superman and he just stayed home? Because the guy who plays their son looks a little bit like Clark Kent.
Yeah.
Right. Looks a little bit like oh my god, help me out here. The guy who plays Superman in the new movies.
Henry Cavill.
Oh shit, Henry Cavill. Looks a little bit like him. He's not as chiseled as he looks as Henry Cavill, but it's like he's got something going there. It could be like a kind of like there's a resemblance there.
Yeah.
I think. So it's like, okay, if something happened to Clark Kent and he never left Smallville, and nothing happened to Jonathan Kent. Jonathan Kent was all right. Didn't get caught up by that tornado. Didn't try to save people. then this would have been the story of that. That's one interpretation of Let 'Em Go.
Awesome.
Just let him go.
It's a headcanon of
Yes.
take two different properties and they're like, yeah, it's kind of a part of this.
It's only a matter of time. Like I always maintain that remember that Steven Spielberg, Tom Hanks comedy, The Terminal. I always feel like it takes the same. The ending of that is like in Christmas in New York. I feel like if you just stopped that movie right when it ended and popped in Eyes Wide Shut, it would have been kind of seamless. It would have been like, meanwhile, also in New York, you pop in Eyes Wide Shut, it's the same fucking night. It's like, oh shit, this is like, it could work out. It could work. It could work. We have nothing else to talk about.
No, it's not that. No, it is. I'm like super fidgety. I'm very self-conscious about that. I keep going.
But you look fine. No, you look fine. You look fine. I don't think you're fidgety at all.
Yeah.
I think you're pretty good. Are you as composed as normal?
No, it's funny you brought up the whole thing about like talking about the projects and such, though.
Yeah.
Because I really should like stop talking about it. I don't know.
Hey, stop. Just cut out the part.
Yeah. No, I mean, like,
you have the power. You could do it.
The thing about it is, it's not that I like I don't mind talking about it with you, and as you tell, like I'm not really talking much.
Yeah,
about
you're not.
It's
right.
me just kind of more of alluding to different things.
Yeah,
right. I just thought it was kind of like I wanted to share with you, like, one of the things that I was having a problem with when I was saying, like, I almost needed somebody that was smarter than me to figure out what this was. It was like, because I had an idea, but I didn't know how to do it. And I think originally I'd told you, I was like, oh, this is all going to be in one room. And I was just like, I started writing, I'm like, man, this is going to get boring.
Hey, man, you'd be surprised. You can probably challenge yourself and do crazy shit that you don't even know about.
I was like, I'm not, this is not like some Reginald Rose thing where I can't, like, stay in one room. I almost equate it to being like 300 in a way.
Okay.
Where the one thing I'm very proud of is I came up with some interesting names for characters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You do.
Yeah.
Very careful. Don't be very careful.
No,
don't say it if you don't want to.
No, it doesn't.
Something happens. Something happens when you say these things out loud that you feel like, oh shit, is this like I said before, I always get a little bit anxious, a little bit nervous. It's like, okay, is this? Do I really want to talk about this? You know what I mean? Is this something that is like worth opening your mouth up and letting the magic spill out too early? Yeah.
Well, I'm not
that's
giving
happened to me
up
quite
any
a
magic.
bit.
I'm just saying, like, one of the I
that's how I
spent
feel
a
like it
long
is.
time actually thinking about names for
names
people.
for this. Yeah.
Because I mean, there's so many speaking parts. That's one of the reasons why I'm wondering whether or not I'm doing this right, because it is really kind of become this whole thing about, like, I actually had to come up with a model and be like, well, if this is the person's here and they're like, I was like, so and so talks and this one talks and they go talk back and forth in that way, and
Yeah, right.
It is hard as shit, man. It almost seems like it would have been easier if I had just had people improvising it.
It could be, dude. Don't write that off though. You could probably that would probably help.
Yeah.
If you can just get like a room for a day, fuck it. Just do like an Airbnb or something, just for like a day or something, or not even. I mean, in town there's this indoor like sportsplex that nobody goes to. Like they rent it out, and I don't even know who goes there, but it's huge. It's like this big basketball court basically. Yeah. And if you wanted to, I mean, it's like you could just, if you find a place like that around you and just say like, hey, listen, I need a couple of actors or just people or whatever to come over just for a day so we can like workshop this so I can just, figure it out. I mean, what's fucking crazy, and I think you'd appreciate this because you've looked into this stuff, is when you do look like the behind, like the one thing that leaps into the one example that leaps up to my mind about this kind of like, practical craftsmanship of this stuff is Coppola when he's doing whenever he does ensembles, right? Because he's always so delicious when he does these ensembles. No, really, because for instance, like he gets these The Godfather is like the most famous example, right? Because he gets these guys together for like, you heard about this story, right? He gets everybody together and like the people that he wants. Once the things have been finalized, as I guess, he sits everybody down for a restaurant to have a family dinner. So it's the Corleone men, and then you have Marlon Brando. And they're all having, and they're just talking, and Coppola's trying to work out the relationships between all these guys as brothers and how they relate to their father, right? And then flash ahead, maybe was it 15, 20 years to Dracula. You ever seen the behind the scenes of Dracula?
Yes. Yeah.
Isn't that fucking crazy? Like he would get everybody to come to, like, what is it, Napa Valley, wherever his fucking vineyard is, and then he'd have everybody. He'd have, like, I don't even know if Gary Oldman was there, but he definitely had Hopkins there. Winona Ryder was there, and then and Reeves was there, and he had Carrie Elway was there, and even fucking oh my god, what's his name? The guy who plays Seward, who's so popular now, who was also on he was in Star Wars. You know what I'm talking about?
Richard E. Grant.
Yeah, exactly. And they would get those guys there, and they would get the woman who played Lucy Westenra too, and they would just do rehearsals, and then through that, you'd get the relation. Like, do you remember when you watch Bram Stoker's Dracula? What I have forgotten about Van Helsing is that he's so garrulous. Like he's like this weathered guy who does not give a shit about anybody. In general, he's like, yeah, I've seen it all. Fuck it. I'm like, do you remember when he first shows up to to Lucy's house? He's like, yeah. Is there any food? Like, I'm hungry. It's like you see that, and he remember he picks up Mina and he tosses her around like a little doll, like it's like a little baby. And fuck it, you read the book, you're like, that's not in the fucking book at all. That came out of I guess the rehearsals and the kind of like relationships, right? That Coppola was kind of like, okay, what would make this interesting? You know what I mean? And maybe I don't know if I'm embellishing this, but dude, it worked.
Yeah.
I mean, it wouldn't be a bad idea to sort of like maybe, I don't know, get like a gym or something and try to like, fuck, I can come over and videotape it if you want me to. That'd be pretty fun. Well, it's possible. We can do it.
Well, yeah, because like the one interesting thing is that I'm like, I
have these moments. Don't worry, I can wait.
There are moments where I start writing out scenes, and they go on for, because like I said, I don't think I've ever written this much dialogue before. And it's getting to one of the things I've really kind of was able to figure out by writing this all, because I originally had come up with an ending, but that ending does not seem to fit where I'm going right now. And it's I keep having these moments where it's like a building up to a certain moment, and then and then what happens is it needs to like almost take a break or slide down, and it almost kind of like in a play where you would take like a little bit of an act break or something.
Right, that's where my mind went with that. Yeah.
And it's what's crazy about it is that I don't know. I think I'm having a hard time remembering or putting into words what I meant to say about this. It's the first time I think I've been writing stuff where the action is the words. Okay. Okay. Almost as if like the combat is these people just yelling at each other. Right.
And it's in the dialogue. You mean it's in the?
Yes.
It's in the. Yeah.
Because there's absolutely I mean this might be the first time I've ever written anything where nobody's. I think so. I mean, I don't think that there's no violence at all in this. Hell, even in Man Brush, the shark breaks that guy's leg.
Jeez, I don't remember that. Fuck.
The one character, the father takes all the kids, takes the sons fishing.
Yeah. Okay.
And they caught a shark, and the shark's just flailing in the back of the boat.
Oh shit!
And accidentally hit the guy in the leg and like broke his ankle.
No, I do not remember. No, sadly, I don't remember that. Forgive me, Sean. It's been a while.
It led to this thing where he goes to see like the girl he was seeing, and she goes, "What happened?"
Yeah.
He goes, "Shark broke my ankle." She goes, "That sounds really made up."
Still.
Yeah.
Still.
Because that's not a sentence you would ever like.
No.
The shark broke my ankle.
The shark broke my ankle. Still.
Yeah, so I think maybe because I made my own world, and I've kind of made my own rules. Well, still adhering to the real world. It's fun. It's interesting though because it's like lines and lines will go by, or pages will go by, and I'll go, "Holy shit! This went places." And I'm like, did this just like bring everything to a screeching halt?
I think you need to see it alive. Honestly, I think you give yourself your best clue. Is just that when you see it in front of you, I think maybe you'll be able to better comprehend what it is that how the language works, right? Yeah. Because I feel like if you have, I'm not saying you should do this actor stuff. It's not. I don't think it's a bad idea at all. Actually, it's like if you see it ahead of you, if you feel like it's ready for that, then I remember when we were doing Burnt Up, and you had Todd and Brianna, right? That we had gone to that mixer, that School for Film and Television mixer, and you picked them up really quick. And actors, as you know, right? They do want to act, and they put in the work, and with the skills that you have as a director, you can just extract what you need. I think it sounds so mechanical, but it almost feels like that sometimes, where you can just you can judge just what's there, and then you can just bring it out. You see, and I feel like I don't want to get you ahead of the whole curve, but I feel like a lot of it probably will be seeing it. I don't know if that sounds pretentious or what, but I think if you see it, then you'll be like, okay, then maybe if it's in the language and it's within the interactions that these people have with one another, then maybe I don't have to write, as it were, action description, or maybe I'll do like light touches here and there, which I feel like you've already been doing anyway. That's just knowing how you work a little bit. You're serious enough to be like, okay, I need to mention this, and then you'll mention it, right? But I feel like based on what you're telling me, and forgive me if I'm totally off. I'm really sorry if I sound totally off. But I feel like if you're having a struggle with this, and then seeing it in action, in motion ahead of you, you'll probably be able to grasp it better. And then maybe it'll change. I'm sorry. I keep going back to the pie fight at the end of Strangelove, right? Because it was like that shot that and they cut that out. Yeah. Maybe because of the JFK thing. But the thing is, Strangelove is a good example, right? Because you have guys sitting around a table, and it's just their performances across this stage surface, right? That makes it just big because of the close-ups and because of all that. And granted, I don't know what it is that you're doing, but it feels like I have comparisons, and I think it's different when you try. I don't know. It's like you put in whatever it is that you're seeing and that you're getting a notion of, and for me, what I would do also would be like not to. Just still keep in the back of your mind maybe that this is like, hey, I'm still working on this. This is still kind of like a rough draft, and I can still add what I think are the necessary ingredients in subsequent versions of it, if there are any, Yeah. Because it could be that you'll be one and done, and that's a beautiful thing, but right. But I mean, I hope this helps at all, because I feel like you've given me a little of ingredients as to what your predicament is. And I feel like for you, you'd be like, I feel like you have to have the canvas just open, and then you can see it for what it is. Or we can do a reading, Like that's the one thing that's missing from what we're doing in like with ourselves in our solitary business is that we don't have readings with other people anymore, right? That usually kind of helped maybe, I don't know.
It did, like I don't want to like we were saying, I don't want to talk too much about it, but
sure.
Talking about it,
yeah,
I think it's fine.
Yeah.
It's I think of it in terms of like the opening crawl of Star Wars.
Star Wars.
I have written so much like dialogue.
Yeah,
Like I feel like I need to have Brian De Palma to come in. Like, we're gonna truncate this and make it like to the point.
Yeah. Fucking, I guess. Did you just read this article about Brian De Palma commenting on that? I just read it the other day.
No.
Get this. So I couldn't help myself because I was watching this Milius thing. I'm like, oh, what's John Milius been up to now? Is Genghis Khan still happening, right? So I looked him up, go to news on Google, and sure enough, an article comes about Brian De Palma talking about the Star Wars crawl. And this is like a recent quote because De Palma was apparently watching the Spielberg biography that they produced recently, I guess, a couple years ago. And he's so like, yeah, I know. People say that I give give me shit about the Star Wars crawl. But listen, like we were kind of like helping him because we didn't kind of know. And people want to ask, if they want to ask me about my opinion, I'm honest. That's what he was saying, right? So then he goes, this is interesting because I did not know this. Then he goes, yeah, so me and Jay Cox just sat down and tried to write a crawl for this thing. I'm like, wait, hold on a second, time out. Jay Cox helped write out this opening crawl for Star Wars? How come I've never heard this before? When he just mentioned that, like off the hand, yeah, me and Jay Cox, Scorsese could have been there too. Fucking Jay Cox and him wrote Remains of the Day together. Yeah. I mean, I'm sorry, not Remains of the Day.
Well, they did write. Yeah.
Was it right? No, it wasn't. What was it called?
The Daniel Day-Lewis thing. What the fuck is the name of the movie?
Age of Innocence. Age of Innocence. Fucking, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. Favorite movies of all time is Age of Innocence. And I'm like, Jay Cox? Really? I didn't know that.
Every time I did, what was it? I think it was Family Guy made fun of Winona Ryder by showing their clip of it. A scene that's not in the movie.
Right.
Where, where Newland is talking to her. And she's like, that would be most good, Newland. That would be most good. And he's like, can we get a better actress here? He's like, can we do something about this? And she's like, oh, yeah, we'll put in a nude scene. And he's like, oh, good. Hey, we got a movie again.
Got a movie again. Shit. Anyway, that's where my head went.
Yeah. Yeah, your Jay Cox thing just reminded me of the me always wondering what Gangs of New York in the 70s. Well, it probably would have been the early 80s. Who would have been who?
Yeah, well, I heard that way back was that we were thinking about getting like Mick Jagger in there too. Like, did you hear about this?
Well, I had heard that there were some people floating around who was going to play the characters that ultimately were in the film he did make. Except there was like what's his name? Lancaster Vallon. Lancaster? What the hell is his name?
Lancaster Marin. Yeah, not from Exorcist.
Not Lancaster Marin. What the hell is his name?
I don't know where my head went. John, it's like 12:42.
Yeah. Priest Vallon, and what the hell was DiCaprio's character's name?
Amsterdam.
Okay.
Amsterdam.
So Amsterdam Vallon was probably going to be either a young boy or a teenager or some shit like that. And Priest Vallon was going to be in it, but he was not going to be, so it was going to be Bill the Butcher and Priest Vallon. And that was going to be the thing, where De Niro was going to be playing Bill the Butcher.
Bill the Butcher.
And the idea was that they were thinking of having somebody like Ryan O'Neal, because he's Irish, and Harvey Keitel isn't, which everyone thought. It was like, oh, you'd probably have Harvey Keitel, right? And I'm like... Does that look right? Does this?
Hey man, I'll tell you something about Harvey Keitel. Did I ever tell you? Time out. Look, all right. You know, senior year SVA, I somehow got into doing those actor studio sessions. Did I tell you about this?
No.
Yeah. So. Fridays during the like mid morning. I talked myself into it. Don't know how it happened. I had to go to Reeves Lehman's office with a bunch of other people who were interested in doing the actor studio stuff. And we got picked, right? So we went, and it was like, okay, I need to do something for my last semester. What can I do? And I was like, oh shit, this actor studio thing seems like pretty damn cool. I want to see if I can get into it because there was only open for like directing majors or whatever it was, and I wasn't directing major. I was obviously a screenwriting major, so I'm like, I'm just gonna get into it, right? First session there, they have you go to the 54th Street. They have you go into into the church, right? The actor studio, the proper actor studio. I don't know if it's still there anymore, but it was there. We'd go up the stairs because guests are allowed to, observe from the balcony. You can't say anything, right? You only can observe. That was the house rules. And I remember the first day there's this guy who sat on the ground floor because they had like these bleachers set up and you had the stage right on the floor. So we'd be looking down, and one of the guys who kept commenting, offering very astute points, and I was like, okay, this guy, I don't know this guy. I'm just, from down below. I'm just watching from up here, and they would do usually 2 scenes, right? With depends on if they have a pair of actors or it can be like a monologue. And this guy just kept commenting on the scenes after the scene stopped, right? Just making their his insights, and then somebody goes, no, I'm sorry, I'll get around to this. But somebody says his name, saying, "Oh, Harvey, that was a really good point," and he's hit me. That's Harvey Keitel. I didn't recognize Harvey Keitel. He was like, even 15 feet in front of me, and I was like looking down on him. It was, clear conditions, no atmospheric, no fog or anything like that, no mist. And I'm looking down at this guy talking for a space for like a good 40, 30, 45 minutes, and I keep looking down at him. I did not recognize he was Harvey Keitel. Sure enough, when somebody said Harvey, his name's Harvey, it's all of a sudden something happened to my vision where it's clicked. I'm like, oh my God, that's Harvey Keitel. And let me tell you something. The person who said, thanks, Harvey, that's a good observation, was Helen Mirren. No, I'm sorry, it wasn't Helen Mirren. It was Ellen Burstyn. Oh. Let me tell you something. About Ellen Burstyn close up. Ellen Burstyn is this force of nature. That first day, I had gone to the actor's studio. I was waiting outside, just kind of like, wasting my time, just biding my time to go inside. Cab pulls up a little bit down the street from where this place is. Door opens. This woman comes out in this red dress, closes the door, I guess pays the cab or whatever, comes out, and she's walking like this. She has sunglasses on. Very, very, very composed, kind of like solitary demeanor. Immediately, I'm like, that's fucking Ellen Burstyn. Holy fucking shit, it's Ellen Burstyn. She's not saying a goddamn thing. He's not saying goodbye. He's not saying good morning to anybody. He walked past me, and she just, went down the steps, and she went inside the building. And there was a good crowd of people there. She might have said, good morning or whatever to anybody. But I was like, holy shit, the power that this woman had. I don't know if it was my mental embellishment or projection or whatever it was. But first impressions, I'm like, holy shit. I was thinking of Aronofsky. I was obviously thinking of Friedkin. And who else? He's worked with a whole bunch of fucking people. But I'm like thinking, holy shit, to sort of contain that. Because it was like this, I don't know, this force that was there. You know what I mean? And she was the one that said, well, Harvey, thanks for making this. I'm like, wait, clicking in. I'm like, holy shit, that's Harvey Keitel. That's Ellen Burstyn saying, like, oh, yeah, thank you, Harvey Keitel. And I'm like, holy shit. And my point of this whole, rambling story is, dude, Harvey Keitel can stand right in front of you, and you may not even recognize him. And that's how good of an actor he is. Mic drop. But seriously, though, it's like he can be like, unless you're like, obviously in intimate terms with him, you can recognize him. I'm telling you, I did not recognize Harvey Keitel. It was fucking bullshit. He was right there, and I did not recognize him. And so hey, maybe he could have played an Irishman. I don't know.
Yeah. I know. I'm just.
You never know.
Yeah.
That was some good shit, though. That actor studio. We never talked about this. I gotta tell you all these stories from that thing, man. That was some good stuff happening in there. Holy crap. Some amazing actors that I haven't even seen since that are just probably still around somewhere. Even, who knows an amazing actress was Eli Wallach's daughter. I think Roberta Wallach? I don't know, but she was amazing. I don't know if no, it wasn't Roberta. I don't know who it was. I don't know, it wasn't Roberta. Oh, no, I remember that. It wasn't. I know Roberta Wallach's a good actress, but it was Anthony Quinn's daughter, Aidan Quinn's sister, who I've never heard of. Came up, knocked out the fucking, like, everybody was blown away. I don't even remember her name. I have to look it up, but it was amazing. It was just so. It was like a force of nature, I want to say, but I remember, holy shit, it was that good. Even people were like, and Ellen Burstyn was there the one time, right? And then the woman who did a lot of moderating, because Ellen Burstyn was the moderator. They have moderators, and the moderators can open up the floor to the other actors, and the actors would comment. But Lee Grant was the one that was there a lot.
Oh, okay. Right.
And she would it seems like every week was like Lee Grant showing up and just, opening the floor, and they would just, and Lee Grant would just moderate everything. And I think even Lee Grant was kind of like, holy shit. Like, and Lee Grant is sort of a no nonsense lady. I've seen her in a handful of stuff. I even forget she's in Mulholland Drive.
Yeah.
Like, she's in Mulholland Drive. And, I'm like, that's another one where I'm like, oh, who's that woman? Okay. And then sure enough, Lee Grant. I'm like, what the fuck? Lee Grant is in this movie? I didn't know.
Yeah, she semi-retired from acting 30 years ago to become a documentarian and
really?
And then continued to occasionally take acting roles.
Yeah.
Like Sean Penn, he retired from acting in 1989. It's going great, right?
I wouldn't know it. Nobody would.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. Anyway.
Yeah. No,
but still. So, no, anyway, I don't want to sidetrack on this whole Jay Cox, Scorsese thing and Actor Studio stuff, but it was good. It was worth mentioning because I figured, oh my god, I don't know if Sean's. I thought I've told you this before, but
no.
This is good stuff. It was amazing. Remember Dan Mendelsohn?
Yes.
From where I was standing in the lobby of the Actor Studio because he was there, and he turns around and it's like, dude, there's Philip Seymour Hoffman. Turn around, there's Philip Seymour Hoffman. Like right in, he was smoking he was just smoking a cigarette out in the little courtyard area that they had. So me, I'm like, hey, I said hi and thanks for everything and that kind of stuff. But that was good. It was a good little thing.
Nice.
I know. It was fucking, for what it was like, that's pretty amazing. It was on 54th Street. I don't know if it's still there. I should look it up. I don't know if they tore the building down or whatever, but yeah. So, I don't know. What are you gonna do with this action description thing that you have?
Well, what I decided to do, I'm just gonna continue going forward.
True.
Reach the end of it. I'm kind of hoping that I figure out the third act. In theory, I have the whole thing. It's there. It kind of has to do with the players involved and what they say and how it's going to end. In my mind, I would love to not get schmaltzy and cliched about it. I almost wonder if it would benefit from a nice, tightly, bowed bow. Tied,
yeah, right.
Tied bow.
Everything, all everything's tied together like loose ends. Yeah.
When I'm done with it, in private, I'll probably just kind of tell you more about what my thoughts on it are. So far, I'm enjoying it. I like what's going on with it.
You're back on it. You're back on it.
I think that it's some of it is it's. I think a lot about social media and how everybody's an expert on everything. And I've never thought of myself as being I've never thought of myself as being a political person. And that's one of those great cop-outs that people like to say now, is that I'm not political, but
yeah.
Mostly my idea is I actually don't like when people get really political, because it usually happens is they are talking to you with complete blinders on.
Right.
And I know people in my life that talk this way, which I think is one of the reasons why things get fueled into the way that I've been writing this. Also, a lot of things going on in the news. Just, you
don't have to look far at all.
It's interesting stuff, but I decided I wanted to try and think of it as being like maybe not me, because I think maybe I'm slightly different, but I kind of find that there are people on who have different ideals or beliefs, and a lot of times people don't realize how full of shit they are either side. And here I am standing in the middle going, shut the fuck up. Or shut the fuck up.
I agree.
So,
but it's hard though, even for personally speaking, it's sort of, you have to have a degree of willpower to take a step back from a sort of either side, as it were, because you can get caught up in one argument or the other really, really fast. And if you don't take a step away from all that for a little bit of time, or at least, just deliberately take a step back, not even for a little bit of time, just take a step back flat, right? Then you're going to get caught in currents that may be, I find, speak passionately on either side to who you are, but then there's like this weird kind of dichotomy that happens that you feel like, now how do you bridge that gap, right? And I feel like a lot of people probably feel that way, but it almost requires the skills of a great orator or a con man, as it were, right? Because you kind of have to go in that direction to sort of like, be vocal and articulate as to why you feel the way you do, without succumbing to the pressure that comes with whatever is the public perception of this and that. You know what I mean? It's sort of like, okay, it's very easy to like hang your hat on something, but is that what you really want to do? I know I always go back to that quote from episode 3, from the beginning of Star Wars episode 3. It's like, was it oh God, from the opening crawl, it's like, heroes are on both sides, heroes are everywhere. You know what I mean? That is, something like that, right? Where it's like, both sides have their respective heroes, as it were, right? But at the same time, I'm like, all right, where are you in all this? And it helps when you read history. Like, I'm reading this, I don't know, I have this kick about reading about these, cult people. Like, over the course of the summer, I read this, I read the Son of Sam thing, which led to the Manson thing, and now I'm reading about Jim Jones. And you follow this weird dark thread about these people. Like, you see the obvious parallels between Jim Jones and Manson, like almost like immediately. The Jim Jones book I'm reading now, I think they're actually adapting it for Hulu. I think it's called Raven. I don't know if you read it, but it's written by people who they had gone. I think, what's his name? Shit, I forgot. The book's in the next room, but it's written by this one journalist, or this one guy who was with, I think, it was written and co-written by this other guy too, who went down to Guyana in that Leo Ryan trip, and they got shot at, and it's like, this shit has to come out because this is crazy. So they did their homework. They pretty much dived into Jim Jones's life. Right now, I'm really early on in the book about the formation of the People's Temple. And no lie, I mean, what's really interesting, it's like, you'll have like, key phrases that pop out of you. Of course, this is back in the I think this was formed when he was like, Jim Jones was still fairly young when the People's Temple was formed. It was like 25, 26, 27, like in these early, like mid-20s, early 30s. And, excuse me, he would just invoke the social justice, the social justice aspect. We're going to integrate, we're going to have like this merging of, the races in this church, and it's going to be a rainbow family, and it's going to be this and that and the other. And I'm reading this page, these pages in this work, and I'm thinking back in my head, holy shit, this does not end well. And there's these moments when these people who join the church and for whatever reason they leave, and I'm thinking, obviously I wouldn't know what happened in these people's lives afterwards, but they dodged that big bullet. There are people who met up with Jim Jones at the very beginning, and they stuck it out. And I don't know what their fates are at Guyana. Obviously, it won't end well. But shit, it's like you see, if you know what's coming, it's like, holy shit, this is just like, when you read it, it feels like it has this sense of an unspooling kind of like inevitability, sadly. Yeah. And there's this one guy who he was friends with when he was growing up, and this is almost unbelievable because if you read this guy's the accounts that they got from this guy Don when he was hanging out with Jim Jones, it's sort of like, holy shit, all the red flags are there. You know what I mean? Like like he would just collect people, and he would just boss people around. Right, he would just be like he'd go to street corners and he'd just preach, you know what I mean? And he just comes from this family, from like his mom was very kind of strong-willed and his father was sort of there but not really present, And all these little ingredients were there to just be like, okay, is this how it happens? And this one guy, the book is almost worth reading about this one guy's account alone because he grew up with Jim Jones, went to high school with them. And then early on, after high school, Jim Jones got a job, excuse me, at a hospital. So this guy Don needed to make extra money, so he was sort of on the outs with Jim. He was kind of like, I don't know about this guy anymore. And then Jim was like, no, come to the hospital. Crazy shit happens at the hospital. And then there's this one moment where it's like, I can't do this anymore with this guy. I'm done. And then he just leaves his life. And the way it's written, it's like, and that was how Jim Jones' first friend and possible first victim escaped, because this guy was like, this is like morbid shit's happening, dark shit's happening. I'm out. I can't do this. I'm out. And it's really, it's you're a little bit humored in a kind of like arrogant and in a morbid way, because when you read these fucking books and you read about the guys who who've dodged the bullet from Manson, joining the family, and you read these these People's Temple people who are all well intentioned. I mean, a lot of people apparently joined People's Temple because they were really taken in. They were enthralled by the whole notion of having like this really open community, right? And then, sure enough, shit that does not happen. Down the line, that shit goes. Everybody drinks the Kool-Aid. That's where that comes from, right? It's just astonishing when you read this stuff and you realize like, wow, a lot of people are not innocent. They might be innocent, but the thing is, that's to their detriment, sadly, because they just will get caught up in shit. And unless they know, to bring it back to what you're doing and what the current climate is, which is ironically I think is been like that for like maybe forever, who knows, but especially the last 50, 60 years. Is that people will be good intentioned. They'll try to make, they'll try to take steps for positive social change in their eyes. All they need is like one person to be like, how can I use all these people? And that's what happens. Fucking, that's what happens. And these people tend to have a trend. They're like really kind of like super egotistical. They have like two faces. They are passionate. They can be, they're super articulate. It's really interesting in the book. They talk about how Jim Jones had to sort of learn how to heal people. This is a good quote, good part. You'd love this. I just read this today actually, where there's a part where the authors are talking about how Jim Jones, and I don't know how they know this right now that I'm thinking about it, but I'm hoping that they extracted this from interviews. They just invent this shit. But they talk about how Jim Jones was sort of beside himself, that he had healing powers, like faith healers. Like we talked about this. Didn't we talk about this with regards to in the last one with Steve Martin and
yes.
Touching on with Steve Martin and David Mamet and of course House of Games, and Jim Jones apparently was just beside himself that he was like, oh my God, I can heal people, right? And what's really interesting, the way it's written in the book, it's this. I wish I had it right in front of me. I can just quote it to you. He seemed kind of like taken aback that this worked, and he didn't know it was because if he had power or if people were just too gullible. Like, he didn't know. Like, he really had no idea. And he just kept on doing it. And he just deliberately would speak in tongues because that was sort of the custom of the country, as it were, right? These people would go to these Pentecostal sessions, and Jones would just notice that these leaders would just start speaking in tongues. So he started doing it. He just was not like, okay, you know what? These people are doing, fuck it, I'm going to do it too. You know what I mean? The whole thing. And apparently, yeah, people like ate that shit up.
Yeah.
And what's really interesting is that this book talks about the rise of the right. And I'm thinking, shit, yeah, they have, the religious aspect to it. But if you take that away, if you take that from the traditional kind of perception of what, right-wing conservatism is, at least in this part of the world, if you take that part away, you see a guy who would just be a social justice warrior almost. He's just like, okay, we have to get people together, we have to integrate, and we have to, make sure that, no more of this bullshit, racism's happening. But at the same time, he's doing it because he knows that's how he gets power, you see. So it's almost as if it's like, if you take certain elements away of here and there, you can kind of apply this guy to not strictly right, but more in right, as it were, right? But an intriguingly left-wing perspective nowadays. And I'm not saying this just to be, like controversial or anything, but if you read this one book at least, you'll be like, holy shit, this is very applicable to what's happening today to certain people, especially with the, armchair social justice warriors on Twitter and stuff like that. Doesn't matter which side. It just happens. It happens. And this is like Indianapolis, man. It's like in the 50s, 60s, so.
Yeah.
Anyway, you gotta check that book out, because I don't know if this intrigues you, but these ingredients are there where it's interesting to sort of pick apart and think about. It's really cool. The book is called Raven. And Tim Reiterman, I think his name is. But yeah. Anyway, I mean, I don't know if obviously that helps, but it's a fascinating area of study to look into, and I don't know how this applies to. Obviously, I don't know how this applies to what you're doing. But
it might, yeah. It's I've been looking for different. I've been looking for different voices to kind of like infuse some of the characters I have, because in a way, I don't know. I guess I want to try and be as well-rounded as possible. Yeah. Without doing this, I am going to be as safe as I can and make sure that I represent these people and represent these people. But instead,
you're not going to do that.
Instead, I'm doing this.
It's impossible.
You're fucking stupid. You're fucking stupid. And somebody needed to tell you.
Yeah, right.
And that's kind of more the idea that I'm kind of going with.
I'm dying to know what Latin word you've appropriated to because if I ever I think I know where you're going with this a little bit based on.
You want me to tell you? It's not gonna.
If you want, I don't want to pressure you into it.
Yeah, hold on a second. I got this written down.
Oh shit! He's got the spiral bound notebook. Ladies and gentlemen, if you can only see what I'm seeing right now.
Where the hell is it?
This is like the writer. You hear those turning pages? This is like the writer's equivalent of the Howard Stern show. Well, 90s Stern. I don't know about now. I think Stern now is more like a very kind of like astute celebrity interviewer now, based on what I've seen.
You know what he spoke. I used to listen to Howard Stern while I was embalming.
Yeah.
And he kind of
that's funny.
He brought up that ever since he got onto Sirius, he kind of became the interviewer that he wanted to always be.
No shit, really?
Because he doesn't need to play the part of the guy trying to sell ads by doing the whole thing where it's like people want to listen to him because they love him. People want to listen to him because they want to know what the fuck he says so they can hold it against him.
Funny.
And ever since he was like, he said I don't have to be that stooge anymore. because somebody like said to him, they're like, oh, Howard, you're like, you're such a blah, 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 this and that. He goes,
hypocrite.
you don't have any idea who I am. I'm not, I've never engaged in any of this crazy shit that you hear that was on my show. It's like people think that I'm like the devil incarnate. Meanwhile, I'm an old tired guy that just likes to talk about what he wants to talk about.
The old pornographer. Yeah.
He's like, it's like I think they actually said that somebody called him like the best mainstream pornographer, and he's just
right.
He's like, you know nothing of my work. And he says, ever since I got to Sirius, I don't have to, I didn't have to lower myself to be doing all these parlor tricks and having women coming on the air and flashing their tits. He's like,
sure.
Instead, I can have people like,
yeah.
Because he would have politicians come on, and not out of irony. It was a genuine interview. Okay. All right, let's see if I'm even going to pronounce this right. Nos dimitere acceptere nos.
Oh my God, I can't even remember. What is that? Do you want to go into... should I write that out? I'll do it in the chat. Yeah, write it in the chat.
Okay.
And I kind of don't want to ask you what this means because I feel like it has to come out eventually, so I'm not going to even penetrate that. That's what I say. This reminds me of when we were in school, honestly.
Yeah.
When you take the notebooks out and you tell me this crazy esoteric shit that you look into. Oh. Anyway, the Latin word was the Latin phrase is nos dimitere accepere nos, which I have an idea what it means, but I'm not going to say it because I think it's better to like sort of leave it be. Anyway, I was going to say.
I'll tell you what. Why don't we bring the cast to an end?
Yeah, I think so.
And we can kind of maybe say our farewells off of the cast.
Okay, no problem.
And that way,
that makes sense.
Maybe kind of bring a finale.
Wrap it up. All right. Yeah. So anyway, because of my failing computer, we have to cut the ShJuawnCast short. The Schwartz be with you. But hey,
did you go back to recording?
Yeah, I am recording, but I figured you can just add this later at your discretion. And I got really quick. I gotta say this, and I'll end on this. Sean's been doing a fucking fantastic job in editing the shit down because last podcast was like 3.5+ hours. But we went longer than that. And if you listen to it, it's fucking seamless. It just feels like nothing happened. That conversation just flowed so beautifully. So Sean already set high standards for his editing abilities from here on out. So thank you, my friend, for doing this work. Me. All right, that's enough. See you later, guys. Oh, wait a minute. Time out. Did you even do the, hey, when I asked you, like, Sean, no, wait, you didn't do it today. The whole, hey, how you doing?
How you doing? This is like Tenet, okay? We do we're going to meet in the middle with things.
See, I fucking love Tenet. I didn't like Blade Runner.
So do I.
I love Tenet. Yeah. All right, that's enough. Yeah. We'll save it for later.
Hold on.
See you guys.
Okay, so good night.
Yeah.